been needing this. Hello, my people out there. Hola, mi amigos in Argentina, and my sis in Florida.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm here with Shunda K, and yeah, I'm excited about this. Thank you for the opportunity to share all of this this information with my sisters, your sisters, my sisters, our brothers who really want to get this down. So yeah, let's do it. Tell me what you got.
Well, I mean, you know, talking about the origin of the thing, right? You know, how did we even manifest into this physical reality? We know that even the scriptures say that flesh is a curse, right? It's like a jail cell, as you had mentioned in one of our previous conversations. So, you know, we're spirits first, but, you know, so many people relate to this physical body. So what can you tell us about how do we even manifest into the flesh?
All right. Now, this goes back into, now you asked a deep question, sis, because I can go deep with this thing, but we're just taking it from the top. When we look at how this manifested, I mean, we can go all the way back to the beginning of the earth, where we're talking about the original being was the mitochondria. And we know how powerful the mitochondria DNA is in all of us. All right. But talking about these vessels, this human vessel, when we talk about how this manifested, and we get into things like beings that created the vessels, because we know that these vessels are actually they're hybrid vessels. So if we're talking about that and how it manifested, what science is showing is that the feminine or the female was the original being. All right. Doesn't matter if we're talking about animals, plants, or what have you. The female, everything comes from the feminine. All right. So that's one. And let me know if I'm not answering your question, because you asked a deep question, and I can go, you know, long with this. But just in a nutshell, basically, we're understanding that everything comes from the feminine. And again, I need to say this, my brothers, I love you. I don't want you to feel like, you know, we're dissing you or like there's a disrespect for you, but we've been lied to about what's going on in this dimension and who we are as beings. All right. Everything comes from the feminine, and nature does not create anything male. This is not a diss. And we can understand this when we understand, you know, people ask about the chicken and the egg, which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Well, they're both female. So a male doesn't have any place in this, in that argument. So what we have to understand, that a male is a female. It's a inside out female. And so again, this goes so deep. And we're going to get into all of that, whatever you want to get into. What's that?
Let's go deep, because we've been, you know, prepping the people with this information for the past year, and the foundation of it was the scriptures. Because when the scriptures are studied in the Hebrew, it shows you that Eve delivered Adam through her pudenda, or her vagina, the same way men are delivered onto the earth today. So go as deep as, you know, you feel the need to. The whole truth is what we seek in.
Right. So the bottom, when again I talked about, you know, these vessels being hybrid, and you know, we get ancient scriptures that talk about beings that had knowledge of DNA manipulation that brought these vessels into play. When we're reading the Bible talks about these quote unquote gods. Well, let me say this real quick, because I mean, we're going to get into some biblical history, some scientific studies, some etymology, some of everything. But when we're talking about the biblical side, what we're looking at is, when we're talking about, everything says God or Lord. The scriptures were written by the melanated woman. When we're talking about the scriptures were written by the melanated woman. Those, so we need to look up. And again, I want to give you things that you can go and look up and research for yourself, so that this is not you just believing Diva. You're not just believing Shunda K. We all have to do our own research. But go look up the oracles. Go and look up the Sibyls. Those were melanated women. Those were people who knew how to tap into Akashic records because they understood universal laws. All right. So when we talk about this, what's going on is that, again, the scriptures are written by the melanated woman. But when we talk about the Bible, religion, patriarchy, all of that comes from the melanated male. All major religions come from the melanated male. And what we have to understand as women is that things have been redacted in that Bible. All of the stories about the woman have been left out. If you don't know who Lilith is, you need to go do some research. That's the left out books. Go check them out. So what I'm trying to get to you is about the importance of who the woman is and how a lot of things have been left out. So going back to, we're talking about these, when in the Bible where it's talking about lords and gods, those names have been removed purposely because they all lead back to females. Those gods, the vast majority of them were females. They were feminine.
Indeed.
So the beings that were creating these, go ahead, I'm sorry, sis.
Sorry to cut you off, Empress. I was just saying the word God itself is feminine in origin.
Right. Talk about it.
Going to etymology.
Talk about it.
You know, a lot is a lot. Everything is it derives from the feminine, like you said. You know, we all know that life comes through the womb and not a rib. You know, but even our mentality is as if we were really born from the rib of a man. So we have really been brainwashed, you know, with this to where we see the truth every day when women are birthing men, you know, but we still believe this lie.
Right.
So the knowledge that you're bringing, you know, this is definitely going to tear down those strongholds.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, so again, when we're a lot of things that we have been told, yeah, we've just got to relearn them. And again, for my brothers, I know this information is not pretty. It is not easy to digest. If I was in your shoes, I can't say that I wouldn't feel the same way. But we have to study because we see that we're living in a mess right now. And the only way that we come out of it is for all of us, including the male, to gain an understanding of what true factual history is. So we need to know the history. We need to know science. We need to understand what the lies are. We need to start understanding etymology. There's a lot. We need to understand what the Bible is. It is, you know, it's used as this religious piece, but really it's used to keep us enslaved. And so once we start, you know, understanding what the truth is, start studying on our own, then we can, again, start to lift ourselves out of this mess. And one of the things we've titled these videos, The Return of the Matriarch. Why? Because we're going back to nature. Everything is moving back to nature. Say it again.
Yes. I say you better say it.
So that's what we are. And again, all of us, from my brothers and my sisters, and some of my sisters are really, you know, stuck in this patriarchal light. Again, just study. If you're not afraid to know who you are, just study the facts, and they will reveal themselves to you. All right. So what other questions we have, sis? Maybe you have some on your end. And I'm trying to keep this screen steady.
Asking any questions as of now. Shalom, Edward. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, so, you know, talking about the scriptures and how important they are, and the fact that they are a matriarchal text that has been, you know, pretty much what happened with the scriptures is the genders were just changed from female to male.
Right.
Can you talk about, you know, the origin of the pharaoh, and how all of that, you know, even when you look at Native American, or I'm going to say the indigenous tribes, they were all matriarchal. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that, you know, when you start researching and studying for yourself, you're going to understand that, again, the woman across this planet has been removed from history because in order to keep her down, she has to look like, you know, again, you can't show what her importance was in history. That can't be shown. It's the same way. Listen, I got to say this because history continuously repeats itself. We've all heard that. And it's the same way that the melanated people are trying to be removed from history. You know, again, it's the Albion doing that. But before that, it was the melanated male who removed the woman from history. All right. So let's Go ahead, sis.
Yes, I'm listening. So basically, you're speaking about karma now.
Yeah, well, I mean, what is karma? Karma is nothing but a universal law. That's what it is. And when we say laws, I'm saying it is and it must be. It's a law. So what we have to understand, I'm going to go back since you spoke about Egypt. Okay. There were at least 6 pharaohs. All right. Again, the term pharaoh means the woman's house. They're not going to tell you that. I looked this up a while back on Edamon Online, and it said the woman's house. Now, when you go read it, it just says it's the house. But that's what it means, the woman's house. And so the pharaohs, there are at least 6 women pharaohs in Egypt. And what has happened is they've been removed. Even when we talk about King Tut, why does it look so effeminate? Because it was a female. And what the male has done is come in and restructured everything, put beards on it to make it look as though it was a male, but these are females. And these were female rulers. And again, when we talk about the Sphinx, even the Sphinx, that was originally a female image. And then the melanated male came in and restructured it, put a beard on it, and added certain things to make it seem as though it was a male. But then after that, the albion comes in and shoots the nose off, so you don't know it's a melanated person. So again, I mean, just with that, what else did you ask about the Bible? Again, all of these characters in the Bible, there have been so many of them that have been changed. The Israelites was a matriarchal order. And I speak on this on some of my videos. Also, when we talk about even the Jesus character, you know, is that audio coming from you, sis?
I'm not sure. But
okay.
Now it's saying it's saying that the video is trying to reconnect. So just if we can just pause for a minute.
Okay.
And see what's going on with this. I'm not sure, but I do know that Facebook, they definitely sabotage.
Oh, they trying to block us. They're trying to block us, but you know, I know there's
internet. Yes, my internet's working just fine, but it's saying that it's trying to reconnect.
Okay.
Right now.
Yeah. Well, I can say, well, we're still recording here. Let me see if I have anybody. If you can give me let me know if you can hear my sis on the phone. Okay, let me know, please. Drop me a line, Sassy, Floyd.
Yeah, so we'll just keep moving on your end. So let's just keep rolling with it. So, you know, I mean, like you're discussing, you know, everything has been changed from the feminine to the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
When, you know, what I had always, well, I'm not going to say always, but just, you know, in where I have come, where I'm at right now, I don't believe that there is a masculine if everything is feminine. So can you just shed more light on what is the masculine?
All right.
If everything from the feminine.
All right. So what, and I'm going to give you what science is showing, what metaphysics shows. When we're talking about, you know, feminine is the darkness. Everything, so there's a dark and a light. So everything has a duality, you know, 2 sides of the coin. So feminine is the darkness. It is the positive. It's the place where everything starts. It is the beginning. It is considered, quote unquote, the truth. This is where your reality is in the darkness, because we think the light is everything, but the light is a reflection. So when we're talking about femininity, we're talking about the darkness. When we're talking about light, we're talking about masculine, and that is a reflection of what is going on in the darkness. So, I mean, now we're talking about metaphysical things. And so, I mean, this gets really deep. And again, if you haven't studied, this is going to go over your head. But when we're talking about, you know, the feminine, we're talking about the darkness. When we're talking about the light and masculine, we're talking about the light. We're talking about the reflection. And this is the opposite. It's going to be again, what has occurred already in the darkness. So I don't know if that answers your question, but again, when we're talking about, your question is, what is masculine? Masculine, when you look at it and you break it down from an etymological standpoint, masculine means to mask. That means it's not real. It's a representation of something. All right. That's what the term masculine means. And so when we start to understand these things from an etymological standpoint, masculine is not the complete story. And so it's like I said, you asking these deep questions, but yeah, that's what the masculine is. So one, when you say incomplete, because at the end of the day, that's what men are, is incomplete females. And I'm gonna say this. Yes, I would say this because, and the truth is that yes, what is a male? All right, when we look at all beings, again, everything starts from the feminine. Even the male, at one point, he was quote unquote a female. He still is a female, but the problem, I wouldn't say the problem, the deal is that his DNA, which is a contract. Again, I'm going into this metaphysics, but the DNA has been restructured. All right, the DNA has been restructured, and a lot of it has been removed. That is a deformation. All right, I'm going to say this real quick. Now I'm going into some molecular structure and science. And all of us come with these two X chromosomes. All right. When the male is deformed or reformed into a male, that is the mother or the mitochondria that is removing. Okay, we have in that X chromosome, there's 1,400 genes in it, in that X sex chromosome. When that vessel gets reformed, that is the mitochondria that is restructuring that DNA contract, where she is removing 1,300 of those genes from that chromosome to deform it into a male. And this is how this comes. So again, this is not a diss, but again, a male is a deformation. And I'm going to use the term reformation from here on out, because again, we're not trying to diss the brother. We're not trying to make him seem like he's less than. We've just got to tell the truth so that we understand what's going on with these beings that we're seeing in this dimension. Again, as I say, if you're looking at a male tells a story of a woman who was in turmoil at the time of her pregnancy. What am I saying? All right, what am I saying? Again, this is science. We want to, this science, or some of these scientists that are paid want to tell us that there's a such thing as a male sperm. There is no such thing as a male sperm. All sperms are females. All sperms have X's. This includes coming from the male. There is no such thing as a Y sperm. All of them are X's. All of them are female. So when it is the condition of the mother that determines the sex of the child. Again, this is scientific fact. So I got these people who are posting talking about how what they think determines the sex of the child, but then they go and post some information that says that, oh yeah, women who are in war-torn societies tend to have more boys. Yeah, that's because the woman is in turmoil. Doesn't have anything to do with the chromosome of the male. It has to do with what the mother is going through. So when you're looking at a male, you're looking at a woman who some kind of way she was in turmoil, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. She didn't like her job. She doesn't like what's going on in her life. Her husband is beating her up, whatever. She's having issues. And that's what that male child is distinctly telling society has been going on with that woman. So if we're talking about what is a male is a female that's in a reformed vessel. Now, let me know if you want to go into spirituality, because this starts to break down into the spiritual side as well. But go ahead. Talk to me.
Like how did it manifest man onto the earth? Why?
Okay. So according to my research and some of the scriptures that I have gone through, I'm gonna go into this. I'm gonna talk about this quote unquote Anunnaki, but I need people to understand these are not the only beings that were on this planet that had knowledge of DNA manipulation, and the beings that they supposedly created were come from another being that was already on the planet. All right, I need to start there. So I'm going to get into the Anunnaki. When we're talking about a male being, they were created specifically for the purpose of being slaves. Now, according to the scriptures that the ancient scripts that I've read and studied, these male beings come from the female beings that created the human vessel. They come from the female. So when you look at our DNA, as a matter of fact, science shows that, again, these human vessels, especially your melanated people I'm talking about specifically, come from every element of the planet. Every element of the planet. And then these beings had to find a way to drop a spirit into it. They also added their own DNA into these vessels. So when science is showing you information about where the vessels come from and the makeup of the vessels, they come from all the elements of the planet plus something else that's not even native to this planet. That's what they're showing. So according to the scripture, you get these beings, these beings that had knowledge of DNA manipulation to create these vessels. They're here in this environment, but they couldn't take the environment. So they needed somebody to be the slave and do the hard work and the heavy lifting, because they couldn't do it. So they created these male beings. And again, these are mainly, these are female. These are coming from the feminine. Now, when they were trying to create these slaves, these beings to do this heavy lifting, the problem was that they had to, first of all, they were trying to splice it with other animals from the planet. And this is where you get your Neanderthals. This is where you get, some of your other being, your quote unquote so-called Bigfoots that we hear about in, history or whatever. But they were creating beings that could not procreate. And so what they ended up doing was they had to carry these vessels within them because they couldn't get it right. They needed a being that was intelligent enough to handle the tools and intelligent enough to take instructions. The other beings that they kept trying to mix them with, they couldn't do it. And so what ended up happening is that they had to, the female beings that were doing the manipulation, they had to carry these slaves within them. And so they gave birth. Well, the problem was if they had to create a female, because if they were to continue to try to give birth to this male being, if they were to continue to try to give birth, all the burden would be on them. All right. So they said we need to create a female so she can give birth to these slaves. Now, once again, when you create a female is going to have abilities that a male doesn't have access to. And this is why women were supposed to, again, we're supposed to be ignorant of self, because if we were too intelligent, then we wouldn't make good slaves. Again, I can go deep into this. I don't want to go too deep because, like I said,
let's go there now. Let's go.
Well, if you have questions, let me know. Ask me questions if you have any. But yeah, I just I'm gonna go deep into this because we were supposed to not be as intelligent, because when we look in the Bible, again, the Bible is so redacted, and it's clumped all of these quote unquote gods into one being when there were several of them. And so there was, a set of gods that wanted these humans to prevail. And then there was another set that couldn't stand the humans and wanted them wiped out. All right. So at any rate, it just came down to it where these humans, they finally, because again, these are hybrid vessels and they were never supposed to procreate in the first place. These beings that do manipulation, they had to find a way to get these vessels to procreate. Well, in doing so, you know, there had to be a sex gene. I mean, I can go, listen, let me say this. So, somebody is fighting. Listen, see, it goes so deep. All right, somebody is trying to fight the feminine energy on this planet. All right, somebody is trying to introduce beings into this planet that the mother nature, and we're talking about the mitochondria, doesn't want here. And somebody has found a way to put the mitochondria into a coma. Again, this thing goes so deep. So there's fighting against the mother on even the lowest molecular level. And I mean, again, I'm trying to, you know, make sure that I direct my answers to you in such a way that it's clear. But it's so deep that is it? I mean, ask me questions if I'm not answering your questions.
No, you are, and I'm just, you know, vibing off the energy, and I think, you know, for all the listeners, we are listening, because, you know, at the end of the day, when you do study to show yourself approved, when people bring you information, it should be confirmation. And so for me, that's what this is, and I'm grateful for it. So, you know, because I was being made to believe that I'm just, like you say in the Bible, the God seems schizophrenic. So that's how I was being made to feel like I'm just on track. But I know from the research that I've done, the confirmations I received, and I feel that I'm on the right track. And this information is pertinent and it is on point.
Right.
And we need to know.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I did a video. It's called Reincarnation. And when I did that, it caused me to dive deep into the molecular structure of what's going on. And again, we're not understanding what this dimension is and how everything repeats. Now, as I dove down into it, I got into the mitochondria, who is in everything. Again, that is Mother Nature. Anything you can say about what God is in everything. God is in all of us. God, the mitochondria. All right. And when I dove into that, I can see on that molecular level of how she's being fought, just on a molecular level. And then it comes again. It echoes all the way to this level where we are. So everything, again, the mitochondria has a womb, and everything that you see comes through her womb. They call it a matrix. Right. And when we talk about the melanated woman, everything that you're seeing is a product of what has come through her womb, especially when we're talking about, you know, the males being born, when we're talking about the albions, all of that. That's coming through the melanated woman. And she's got, go ahead.
Indeed, yes, and she's got what?
She's got to understand that she is controlling all of this. When we stop acting like victims and we start standing like the gods that we are, then we start to understand that we are controlling this. There's no need to be mad at the male and the albion and all of that. When you control your own energies, they must come into compliance. They don't have a choice. Again, when we're talking about the universal laws, and who we are as beings, and the fact that we control our energies and every energy that's coming to us by controlling what's within, when we understand that, then we start to get this mess cleaned up. All right. And so that the part where we are is that women need to come into understanding of just how powerful they are. Even the albion woman, we're in a mess here. And the way that it gets cleaned up is by the people who started it to recognize who they are.
So are you saying that it's our fault?
It is our, yes. All right. I will say that I put the blame on us because we are the beginning. So you can't say you're a God, and then you want to turn around and act like a victim. No. If you're a God, then you are responsible. So then get yourself together and let's clean this up. Yeah, it's your fault. It's my fault. It's all of our faults. And one of the other things I want to say, Lashunda, is that, you know, we tend to think, Well, I didn't ask to be here. I didn't know. Yes, you did. You contracted to be here. You don't understand it. You're a spirit. He's a spirit. All of us are spirits. All right. We've been here before. And we're doing it again until we get it right. You understand what I'm saying? So once we start to understand that we are spiritual beings, these vessels are just a makeup of the things that took place in the past. Again, this vessel tells a story. A male, just like the male's vessel tells a story about his mother, and it tells a story about what he did in the past, because a male vessel is an indication of an entity that fought against the mother in another dimension and time. And I know that's heavy, but when we start studying metaphysics, then you understand that none of this stuff is happenstance. It's not just happenstance that he's a male. Oh, 50-50 chance. No, it ain't. It has to do with his energies that he put out in the past. And then on a physical level, it has to do with what his mother was going through at the time of his pregnancy. You understand? So again, this thing is so deep on so many levels, from metaphysics to etymology, to biblical, to ancient, to science. We got to start studying. We got a lot of work to do. And the first thing is, don't call yourself a god if you're going to act like a victim.
So rule number one. So what are the steps? You know, and just to recap, pretty much, you know, we are the creators. We are the origin as far as the life givers. So everything that's going on in this earth happened as a result of us and what we did, where our mind was, what our intentions were, so on and so forth. We spoke about the melanated man pretty much changing the scriptures, you know, from the feminine to the masculine, and how we were enslaved by our own men, and how also the pale races were the first to be enslaved as well when it comes to the Americas, and how pretty much all of this is karmic. And so getting back to, you know, what are the steps that we take? I mean, other than, you know, knowledge of self, that's definitely the first thing, but what are the steps that we take to getting back in tune with who we are? Like, you know, how do we do this?
Okay, so let me say this. Now, you mentioned about you know, how we were enslaved by the male. Now, let me say once again, we are not victims, because I'm going to take this back to the woman. Originally, again, this whole planet, the order on this whole planet was matriarchal. All right, it was the woman's rule. Some of y'all are like, nah, that's not true. Well, we can go back to the 1400s. Look up the Iroquois Confederacy. If you don't have it, inbox me. I'll send it to you. And it tells you, like, all of the tribes in the Americas before the English came over, and all the British, before they came to this land, all of these tribes, they were matriarchal. And when we look at the Iroquois Confederacy, it specifically tells you how they ran the land. A male didn't have a position unless he got it from the woman. All right. She was the one who owned everything. So let's go back again. Even when we talk about the gods, it was the gods, the females that owned all of the land. They had all of the knowledge. They had all of the power. They had all of the wealth. All right. This was them. They were treating the male, again, he was a slave. He was being treated like a second-class citizen. He couldn't have education. He wasn't supposed to be reading. He wasn't, you know, he didn't have knowledge of anything. He was, again, he was the one who was being treated like a slave. Again, when you put out energies, universal laws. So when we start talking about this, whenever I deal with my clients who I'm helping to gain their freedom or what have you in this system, universal laws are number one. They are most important. And again, we have no clue of the universal laws, but those who are manipulating the system, they full well know about universal laws. And this is why we stay slave. We stay enslaved because we don't understand our energies as gods. We putting it all out. So again, we got the woman who was doing all of these things to the male. And when you put that energy out, it must by law come back to you. It must by law. So now you get the male who's putting this energy on her. He's just returning the energy that she gave to him. That's how that works. So now, we get people talking about how the melanated male is, all of our prison system has got the black man black. They got the black man in prison. Well, let's understand that. First of all, Lashunda, you asked how you start. One of the things, again, the universal laws, understanding those. Second, understanding true history. We do not understand true history. So I'm going to give you some true history just about here in the Americas. We have been told that we were the original slaves. They want to show us videos of melanated people in handcuffs and neck chains and all of that. Well, that's not the case, because the original slave in the Americas was the Albion. Go and do your etymological research on slave and where it comes from. Slave comes from Slavic and Slovakian. Those were Albions. All right. So how did they become slaves? Because they were being kidnapped by melanated people. Let's understand this. What melanated people? We're talking about Moors of Morocco, which is North Africa. We're talking about Moors of Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli. We're talking about Moors coming from Britain. And when I say British, y'all automatically think Albions, but British were originally melanated people. So all of these melanated people were kidnapping these Albions from where? From places like Europe, which was originally called Africa, from Ireland, Sicily. They're kidnapping them as children and bringing them into the Americas as slaves. Who were the people that were buying this? Because they're not going to keep kidnapping those people if there's nobody to sell them to. Well, they were selling it to the original Americans. Who were the original Americans? The people running around calling themselves Black and African American. Those were the original Americans. All right? Not these light-skinned people they calling Indians and what? No, those were not the original Americans. The original Americans had hair like this. They had skin color like this. All right? All right? So they were copper-colored people. As a matter of fact, what the term American means is Ameri is a Hebrew term. It means copper-colored. Ika means land of the original people. America means land of the copper-colored people. So again, we got all these melanated people doing all of these ill things to these Albions and bringing them into this country as slaves, discombobulated. They couldn't read. They weren't supposed to write. They weren't supposed to. Okay, that's an energy we put out. It must by law be returned. The universe only seeks balance. That's all she wants. She's going to seek balance. If you put out an energy, she's going to send it back to you. If you don't like negative energy, don't put it out. So that's where, you know, again, we're gods. We're putting out energies all over this planet, especially melanated women, and we don't understand what we're doing. But those who manipulate the system, they know.
Right. Now, how you say that we are controlling everything.
Yeah.
Everything that's going on, you know, we're not victims. All of the strife that's in this world, we caused. So how did we do that? How real is this power?
Okay, so good. You asked, how real is it? Okay, so again, I just talked about how these melanated males were responsible for kidnapping these Albions and bringing them here. So, okay, now where are we today? What does the prison industrial complex look like? All right, see, again, we are all spirits. We are all spirits, and when you put out an energy, it must return. We're just coming back, that's all. We're just circling back around. So now, who is it that's in prison? It's the melanated male. Who's doing the imprisoning? Oh, well, you got the Albion, all this nigga this and can't stand you. Why? Where is this energy coming from? It does not happenstance. Where is energy coming from where suddenly you know, you got these Albions that can't stand melanated people? Where does that come from? Oh, they hate us. Why? What? Again, we're not looking at true history. When we look at true history, it was melanated people who enslaved and discombobulated these Albions. Now the same thing happens in their land, or the reverse. That energy is being returned. That's how real it is. We just want to act like, nah, we victims. And I'm gonna tell you something, and I wish I probably need security when I tell my people this, but yes, it does. But listen now. All of this stuff about reparations, I need y'all to pay attention, melanated people. You asking for them to give you a piece of what belongs to you already. The land belongs to you. You can't reclaim it because you don't know who you are. Find out who you are. All this stuff about more this, you better find out who the ancestors, the four mothers, find out who the four mothers were in this land. All right. And then listen, this thing is spiritual. These people talking about I'm more this and I'm more that. They don't own the land. Okay. You're not gonna have peace in no land until you respect the ancestors. You will not have peace in no land in this Americas until you respect the four mothers. Know their names. If y'all need me to drop it, I drop all of the treaties that tell all of the names of you understand?
Yes. Who are the four mothers?
Okay, we're talking about the original American women who were in the land. We're talking about, look up the Iroquois Confederacy. Those mothers who appointed these men to do things and run things. Those were the original women. Again, I have all of these treaties that show the names of, a lot of the tribes. Is not all. Listen, I just got a smidgen of the treaties. There's so many treaties out there that tell you who the original people of the land were. People want to read other folks' books. I don't research like that. I go to I want to go to the, what do they call it? I want to go to the source. You understand? I want to see my people speak. So I don't want to hear somebody's book and them put their narrative on it. And I don't even want to write a book. I just want to tell you where to go so you can do your own research, because I don't want you to be following Diva. Don't follow Diva. You got a spirit that's talking to you. That's who you're supposed to be following. All these we need a black leader. No, you need to listen to your spirit. It's trying to guide you.
That's right. It's real, Empress. It's real.
I mean to go.
See, I want to get into, because you mentioned that with our souls comes a contract.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about that. What is this contract?
Okay, so everything is a contract. Everything in this dimension is a contract. And one of the things is, when we go to a molecular level, we can see our contract. Just like I said, we think, some of us have been, thinking, oh, well, I didn't ask to be here. Well, yes, you did. Your spirit contracted to come back into this dimension. Let's talk about, on a molecular level, what the contract is. That is what we call the nuclear DNA. There's nuclear DNA. And then there's also a mitochondrial DNA. See, the mitochondrial DNA, that's the DNA that is stable. All right. The mitochondrial DNA is going to be the same in, I don't care if you're talking about a bug or a dog or a human or a bird. It's going to be the same DNA. Those mitochondria communicate with each other. All right. Now, getting back to the contract. The mitochondria has DNA is a contract. DNA is a contract, and it has particular laws in that contract about what is and what is to be. Now, in that contract with the mitochondria, let's understand that everything that comes into existence, I don't care if it's plastic or metal or your skin or any other element, it comes through the mitochondria. All right. In her contract, she owns everything. All of this belongs to the mitochondria. All right. Then the mitochondria has a contract with what we call a cell. Now I gotta break this down. You're asking these deep questions. I love it. All right, listen. Now, but if I don't answer the question, make sure you let me know. All right, so the mitochondria was, again, by what science is showing, the original entity on in this dimension, because there was no oxygen, there was no quote unquote nothing. There was nothingness, is what they call it. But really, there's no such thing as nothing. There's always something. But before oxygen and all of this stuff, there was the mitochondria. All right. Every element that was created had to come through her. So it doesn't matter if it's, you know, any of the elements in the elemental table. If we're talking about plastic again, whatever, wood, that comes through the mitochondria. All right. Then there were bacteria that were created after that. The next thing came after that was the cell. They call it the plant cell. All right. The plant cell is considered to be a parasitic being, and it engulfed the mitochondria. Why? Because it needed energy, and the mitochondria provides energy to everything that moves on this planet. Clap. The lightning don't light, and nothing else moves on this planet without the mitochondria. All right. So this cell engulfed the mitochondria, and the mitochondria continued to provide this cell with energy. All right. The contract of this cell that it agreed with the mitochondria is the DNA. All of the DNA is feminine. On this planet, everything is supposed to be feminine. And this is by contract with the mitochondria. Well, some being came to this planet. Again, this planet was seeded. Seeded meaning some other being seeded this planet so that it can come back and, you know, reproduce whatever it was trying to reproduce. All right. The mitochondria looks for feminine. All right. All of the DNA, there is a contract between the mitochondria and the cell. Why am I calling this a contract? Because let's look at a cell. Let's look at a human cell, because all of the cells, whether it be a plant cell, animal cell, human cell, they're very similar. But in the cell, you have a nuclear DNA. So again, you got the mitochondrial DNA, and then you have a nuclear DNA. The nuclear DNA is in a human. We're talking about that, you know, those chromosomes. And I forget the letters that they have. But at any rate, there's a nuclear DNA. One comes from your mother, one comes from your father. All right, supposedly. So you've got this nuclear DNA, and it is a contract. All right. Originally, that contract was that these are supposed to be feminine entities, and they had the ability to divide the same way the mitochondria does. Again, what am I saying? The woman is asexual. She can procreate without any kind of fertilization. She can fertilize it herself the same way a lot of these plants that are not hybrid can do, the same way marijuana can do. Again, you know, most of these plants that were original plants, it wasn't no male female plant. All right. So the humans and all of these other animals, they weren't male and female. They were just feminine. And some entity came into this dimension again and learned how to put the mitochondria into a coma. Again, on a molecular level, she is being fought. And now, are you understanding? See, I know people might not understand this, but when you look at these scientists that are trying to create a male that can give birth, y'all not getting it? Y'all not getting how she's being fought? Somebody would love to be able to get rid of the mitochondria so that they can provide their own energy. She is still trying to fight. But we as women, we're fighting against her with the things that we're putting in our body, what we're eating, who we're sexing, what we're listening to, what we're thinking. So, I mean, like I said, it goes very deep. And if you are not studying this information, everything I'm saying is going to go over your head. I understand. Don't believe me. Write the information down and take notes. Again, I will be glad to drop the treaties so you can at least start looking up the true history of what happened in the past. And again, I'm talking metaphysics here, so you're going to really have to dive deep to understand what I'm saying when we're talking about the mitochondria and how important she is. All these scientists know that the mitochondria is very important, and they hide what her power is. You got to go and look it up. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to put it in a nice little book for you. You've got to read for yourself. You have any? I'm sorry, sis. You got any questions?
Yes. Oh no. I mean, I got a couple things now. What's the deal with Henrietta Lacks? What is the infatuation with her?
Well, of course, you know, with Henrietta Lacks, there were scientists that were doing a test. Now, look, what is the cancer cell? Cancer wasn't around 150 years ago. These people have manipulated a cell, and somehow Henrietta Lacks ended up being the, I would say, the guinea pig for this. Now, for those of you who don't know, Henrietta Lacks was a melanated woman, and somehow they have manipulated genes within her to create this cancer cell. Now, see, this again is... You got to see, when you start studying science, you start seeing what these people are doing. But basically, okay, let me see if I can, if you don't understand this, sis, I want you to tell me so that I can explain it, okay? Our cells are supposed, okay, this is, okay, we're not supposed to die. What's supposed to happen is that our cells find the old cells and they kill them off, and then they replace them with new cells. All right. But some kind of way, these scientists, they have gone in and found a way to manipulate the gene to where after it's supposed to die, it continues to replicate in some way. And that causes it to be cancerous. All right. So it's a manipulation. And somehow they did that in Henrietta Lacks. All right. And what these scientists were doing, they were trying to find out, well, what's going on? What's this cancerous cell? Because, you know, with cancerous cells, what they do is it becomes a sick cell. It comes ill. And so what it's going to do is it's going to attack the healthy cells and turn them into sick cells. It's like a zombie. It's like, you know, like they're talking about the zombie apocalypse, where, you know, one zombie bites one person, and then those two get sick and they go out and bite two other people. And that's how these cells work. They're zombie cells. And so what ended up happening is they were, you know, doing this experimentation on her. They were sending her cells all around the country. They had people in Japan trying to figure out, okay, well, what's going on? And as they started sharing their research, they were finding that, you know, the cancerous cell was the same in Japan as the cancerous cell was in America, as it was in whatever other country they were studying it in. They couldn't find out what the world was going on. But she was one of the first ones that had that cancer cell. That's what my research is showing, that she was one of the first ones with the cancer cell, and they were trying to do experiments because it was found that all of the cancer cells supposedly come from her. But really, what has happened is that they have somebody has manipulated the cell to where once it's supposed to die, it doesn't die. See, look, what I just say, a zombie cell. Once it's supposed to die, it doesn't die. It just keeps replicating itself, and then it infects other living cells. That ain't no different than what the hell they talking about with this zombie apocalypse. All these zombie movies, they're indicative of what's going on with the cells in your body. That's what that cancer cell does. I hope that answers your questions. But
yeah, definitely. Now, what are your thoughts on, you know, the plight of the melanated woman when it comes to all of the kidnappings, all of the missing women and little girls? You know, the whole thing with the transgender movement. Now they're getting uterus transplants. What are your thoughts on that?
All right. With the kidnapping, I'm gonna go on that in a second. But as far as the uterine transplant, again, the mother is under attack. All right. Why would these people be trying to produce a male that has a uterus? What is your purpose for that? You understand what I'm saying?
Well, they already have a uterus. It's a prostate.
Well, yeah, but okay, a functioning uterus. You understand?
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Why would you do that? Where does that come from? What thought is it that comes in somebody's mind that, oh, there should be a male that can give birth? What the hell? Why? Are you understanding that's an attack on nature? Nature said, I don't, first of all, like I say to you, nature does not create anything male. That is again, that is somebody who has breached the contract. That's on that spiritual level. That is a being that has somehow breached a contract. A being that has fought the mother in another point in time. When it comes in here, she specifically marks it and says, you are not to produce nothing in this dimension without a female. Well, now you've got a male trying to create a male that can produce things in this dimension, and she's fighting it, and we are constantly fighting against her because of the things that we are doing, the things that we're putting in our body, the beings that we're creating. Again, I say it goes back to us. We have got to get ourselves together. Who the hell are we producing? See, we want to be mad at all these males. We want to be mad at, him for raping, him for kidnapping, and him for where they come from. 100% of them males came from a female. Who the hell produced that being that would try to fight against the mother? Are you understanding what I'm saying?
It's real. It's real. And so then when you talk about, these women producing men that fight against the mother, even the daughters are against the mother. So is that the origin? Because we know that the spiritual world exists. And so this energy from it not being no love, you spoke about the village and how we, at one point, it take a village to raise a child. That was the saying, and we was all for one. And even in the days of old, how the woman would have a village of women that supported her. But there's so much, dismay between the mother and daughter. Is that where we start?
That's where we start. That's where we start. Because again, we've got to once again get back to showing each other love. We have gotten, again, everything goes. Let me say this, because as you say, love, let's understand what love is. Love is not trying to control somebody or manipulate or, tell them what to be. Love is where you let people be who and what they are. Now, we don't have a true love for each other. What does love mean? It means just respecting people for who they are. Now, I'm going to go back to this because when we're talking about the matriarch didn't have this situation where women talk bad about each other or she got 3-4 baby daddies. It didn't matter. She was able to sex whomever she wanted to. Well, now we've got this situation where women are slut shaming, and we letting men come in here and make us feel some kind of way about each other. Again, we've got to go back to having love for each other. And we've got to learn to uplift each other. Hell, before that, we got to learn to love ourselves. Right. Before that,
now let's get into, yes. Now let's get into these men and what their responsibility is. How we were discussing, we were talking about, how we're trying to make these men something that they're not. Even with the illusion of feeling like monogamy is natural.
Yeah.
Go into that?
Yeah. All right. And I speak about this a lot. Monogamy is not natural. I mean, we always want to talk about nature and what nature is. There's nothing that we do in our society that's in line with anything going on in nature. I mean, if we want to look at nature, we need to look at the beings that are not inhibited by these dumb rules that we're following as human beings. So when we look in nature, first of all, when we talk about beings that mate for life, less than 2% of the beings on the planet in all other society mate for life. All right. And even the ones that mate for life. These ones that mate for life, that don't mean that the only person they sexing or the only being they sexing is the one that they mating with. Because penguins, I use penguins for example. A penguin might mate with a female in Alaska and then go off to some other continent for 2 years and mate with somebody there and maybe come back to this mate over here. Well, they made it for life, but they weren't monogamous. So we asking, there's no, these beings, we're not, as women, we're not monogamous, but we're asking them to do things that is not in their nature. And for me, that's a disrespect to their nature. Now, a lot of women are like, well, it's some good men. Well, what the hell is a good man? What's a good man? You understand what I'm saying? A good man is the one who's going to tell you, well, you know, I like new. You know, that's the good man. Well, we're going to say he's a dog because he's telling the truth. I'm going to tell you this. This is how I feel about it. When it comes to the more honest sex, quote unquote sex, it's the males. Because males have been telling us who they are from the beginning. And we're still trying to put them in a contract meaning marriage, meaning telling them you're supposed to, you expect this male who's put here to sex. That's his purpose, to sex, to spread seeds. He's a do the heavy lifting, and he's supposed to have sex and spread his seed. You asking him to be with you and only you for the rest of your life. And no other being on this planet does that. We're not respecting his nature. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying, you know, again, I don't tell women, oh, you need to have a marriage or you don't need to have a marriage. You need to be polygamous. And I don't care. Look, you know what? Here's where I am. Are you happy? If you're with a male or a female or whomever you're with, are you happy? Because as long as you're happy, then we're going to get this cleaned up. You understand what I'm saying? If you're with a male that's fighting you, he's being disrespectful to you, he's set, you know, because I'm gonna say this, men have a tendency to be they say little snide things. All of us do it. But they'll say little snide things and they'll nip away at you, and you don't realize your self-esteem is getting beat up because you think, oh, he's not hitting me. Well, he'll say something mentally to you. Oh, you look fat today. I was just kidding, baby. He just slapped the shit out you and you don't even recognize it. Excuse me. But I'm just saying, are you happy? When women find their peace and happiness, this must get cleaned up. And it doesn't matter who you're with. You just need to understand who you are and understand your happiness is most important, because once we find that, look, again, I'm gonna say this, and I want to make sure I say it in such a way that, because I don't want my brothers to feel dissed. I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to say that you're not worth anything. But a male, because we, you know, a lot of women will try to say that, oh yeah, the women have to fight the male, and you know, he's the only one she has to protect herself from. Okay, well, where there's peace and love and happiness, a woman cannot give birth to a male. Peace and love and happiness, a woman cannot give birth to a male. All right. So let me say this, because, you know, we want to, you know, somebody will say, oh, wait, it's the woman who does this. When I do research, one of the things that I was looking at, I wanted to know, when I look up research, who is the one who's committing crimes against women and children? When I do all this research, I find out that more than 95% of the crimes committed against women and children, it doesn't matter what color, what race, what country, 95% are males. When I look at who does the sexual molesting against children, more than 90% are males, then another 7% didn't know how to identify. So they was like, well, I don't know what I'm male or female. But more than 90% were male. When I look at who does the violent crimes, more than 85% were male. All right. When we talk about murders, more than 90% are males. Again, I'm not trying to say that all males do these things, but what I am saying to you is the vast majority of the beings that are committing these issues on this planet are male. It doesn't matter if they're black, if they're white, if they're Indian or Jew or Chinese or whatever. The vast majority of this is coming from the male. And so when I look at, once again, these beings who are trying to create a male with a uterus, you got to ask yourself, why in the hell would somebody want to go and do that? Who is fighting against the mother? Well, who are bringing these beings in that'll them to fight against the mother? It's us. We got to get ourselves together.
Right. Yes, we do. Now, can we go back to all of these missing women and children? What's going on? What are your thoughts?
All right. Again, I'm going to just say it like this. First of all, let's understand that nothing is happenstance. That's the most I can say, because you know when I get into this topic, it gets heavy. Nothing is happenstance.
Yes, and we need to hear it. So we were speaking earlier this morning before we got on here, and we were talking about, or maybe it was last night, how everybody gets connected up, at the end of the day. So is that what you're referring to?
Say it again. How everybody what now?
Gets what they deserve.
Yeah.
Is that what you are referring to? You say it's not happenstance.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When I say nothing is happenstance, I'm talking about universal laws. Okay. And I don't want to put it like everyone gets what they deserve. Let me say this again. We as women, we have to be. We haven't been on our job. All right, we have to be more vigilant of our own children. Again, I mean, we have women that will, that will allow a male to molest their child, knowing he's molesting a child. And then won't even, when she comes forward, treat her like she's the leper. Kick her out of the family. Something's going on with her mentally. Something is going on with that woman mentally that is not even standing up for her child. So we as women, again, we're mentally off. We're unstable. So we've got to get back to, once again, protecting our young, because that's our job. But at the same time, we also have to understand that there's some things, again, the universe speaks. The universe speaks. And nothing is happenstance, and there are no victims.
Now, when you say protecting our children, I thought that was the job of the man, for protection, for providing.
You just saying that for ratings? You thought that was a job of the man? Go ahead, I'm listening. Keep talking, so.
So I mean, that's what we've been taught, right? How is that in the era?
All right, so let's get back to this. What's going on in nature? Again, we want to look at this society and act like everything we're taught in this society is natural, when nothing we do is natural. All right, when we go into other societies on this planet, all right, who is the one? Okay, here, I'm gonna start it right here, because all these males love to talk about my favorite animal is the lion, the king of the jungle, the king of the jungle. The lion don't do nothing. Nothing. I mean, when you look at it, who is the one that does all the hunting? Who's doing it? Who's doing it? I'm waiting on you, sis. Come on, Sister K. Okay. So, I mean, he has to have a pride around him. He can't even hunt. You ever seen a lion try to hunt? He get stumped. He can't hunt. He doesn't have that ability. She's gonna take down a whole buffalo 3-4 times her size by herself. He can't do that. All right, let's look at this. A lioness goes up against a giraffe, and she's hunting for food. Who is the only one that's going to put their life on the line for the baby giraffe? Who does it? Okay. I'm just I ain't gonna end here with nature, but it's the woman who's doing the protecting. She's doing the providing. And the thing is, we keep trying to put him in a position where it is not, looks, nature is not even supporting what we're trying to do. All right, so, okay, look at this. When a lioness, her biggest nemesis is the hyena. Okay, a lioness, when she goes out to hunt, you're going to hear these damn hyenas from miles away when they're attacking after she's found the food. Where the hell is the lion? He never comes to her rescue, or very rarely comes to her rescue. She's there fending for it all by herself, but you're expecting a male to come to your rescue. Okay, let's get off the other beings. And I don't like to call them animals because they're beings. Let's go on to biblical history. You read the Bible, Lashunda. I want you to give me, yes you do. Give me one verse in that Bible where there was a man or a male that put his life on the line for woman and child. Waiting. You got 10 seconds. What you got? What you got? Well, oh, she's smiling. Come on now. You got one story, because this is, ain't that what we've been told? It's got to be in the Bible if it's real. Okay, but I'm going to tell you plenty of stories of where he has lied to keep himself out of danger. Because you understand, when we're talking about Abraham and his wife,
He let the man take his gun.
you understand?
Take his whole gun.
What was her name? Sarah. Wasn't it Sarah? They went down. He was like, okay, look here, Sarah. All right, don't tell these people that I'm your husband because they're gonna kill me.
What?
Tell them you my sister, and we don't, So they go down there, and the king is hitting on Sarah like nobody's business. And the only thing, what do you know what protected Sarah? See, if you don't read the left out books, this is why I love the left out books. You know what protected Sarah? What you got? Because Sarah had to call on the spirits. Sarah had to call on the spirits to protect her. All right, so this dude is, baby, you look good. You. And Sarah was like, spirits, please protect me. The spirit slapped the hell out of that king. All right. And it happened a couple of times before he realized, wait a minute. See, Sarah could not depend on her husband to protect her. She had to call on the spirits. And then he realized after he got smacked down, he got the smack down. If you don't have this story in your Bible, go and look up the book of Jasher, because I love it. It was a beautiful story, but she had to call on the spirits. And again, everything comes from within. If you're receiving danger, sisters, it's because of your energies. Change your energies. He's not your protector. You are your protector. So she calls on the spirits for help, and they gave dude the smackdown, and he went back to Abraham. He was like, what? Something's going on. He said, something is going on. Is that really your sister? And then that's when Abraham fessed up. Now, that's really my wife, because, I didn't want you to know, because, I thought y'all were going. So now, and then the king gives him some land and say, man, y'all got to get the hell out of here. Look what you did to me. You cursed me. That's what he told him. He's like, you cursed me because you lied to me. So there are plenty of stories like that about males who don't put their life on the line for woman and child. Okay, all right, that's biblical history. Okay, that's what people call allegory. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's allegory.
Let's fast forward to what's going on.
Okay, good. So even so remember, when it came to the original slaves, they were Albions, and the people who were in the Americas fighting, it's a bunch of different groups of melanated people. So it was your Moroccan Moors that was enslaving your original Americans. You understand? It was your, because they look, we all mixed up because they sexed everything walking. Okay, so we mixed up with Albion, we mixed up with Moors, we mixed up with Moroccan Moors, the British, all that original American. But I'm siding with my original American side right about now. You understand? So what I'm saying is that we end up in this you know, this situation where it's a whole bunch of melanated people fighting against each other, and we have beat down each other. When the Spaniards came in, they just took over the spoils of the war. We done kicked each other's butt all over the place.
Yes.
And so now when we're talking about, you know, where the male was, let me tell you, okay, again, at this time, we're talking about, okay, I'm gonna give you a time frame. We're talking about the 1770s, the late 1770s, 1780s. Moors of Morocco were in the Americas, and they had, y'all look this up, go look this up. Don't believe Diva. I ain't making this stuff up. Just go look it up so you know I'm not making it up. Moorish bathhouses. Look up white slaves in America. Look up white concubines. Look up Moorish concubines. All right, because what they were doing is they were accepting women into this look, all of those nations that wanted to do business in the Americas, they had taken over, the Moors did. And so if you wanted to do business in the Americas, you had to give them what they call tribute or booty. Tribute or booty. What is booty? Albion women slaves. That's what they wanted. And so this is where the term booty comes from. We're talking about giving some booty. That's where it comes from. Albion women slaves. And so it's like they would ask for these Spaniards. So the Spaniards would send these out. Oh, here you go. The Spaniards would send these Albion women over here after they've trained them in arms and weaponry and fighting. All right. They've trained them how to raise up against the Moors. So yeah, they're sending Trojan horses over here. But the Moors weren't thinking about that. They wanted some booty. You understand? And so when these women finally got over here, they ended up rising up again. When they had Trojan horses on the inside. So when the Spaniards came in to take over, they already had these Albion women in place to rise up. Well, what was the name of these Albion women? You know the group? Do you know the group, sis? I'm gonna tell you, Daughters of the American Revolution. Daughters of the American Revolutions. That's the same organization that Hillary Clinton is a part of. Look it up. They're going to give you a hard time finding it, but you're going to have to dig, because that is where the organization came from. That was the original concubine to the Moors. You understanding? We got to know true history. So when you ask where the males were, they were sexing Becky. That's where the hell they were.
They were sexing Becky. You done made me lose my train of thought. I was about to ask.
So I mean, again, we're looking at the slavery. If they were supposed to be protecting us, where were they? Where were they? They were sexing Becky. And they weren't trying to rise up to help us. Okay, let me go fast forward to today's time. All right. Are women, supposedly getting killed in the street? What a male? Where is he? It is not in his nature. Again, I'm going back to that lion of the jungle. He don't run to her help. He doesn't run to her help when these hyenas attacking her and attacking all the food. He gets ghosts. He can hear that. That stuff can be heard from miles away. Where the hell is he? He knows she's out hunting. Help. But he doesn't do that. That's not in his nature. And this is not to say all males are quote unquote cowards. I'm not saying that. What I am saying to you is they fight. Look, males fight for ass. All right. Either they trying to get some ass or they trying to save their ass. All right. There ain't no, you understand? And that's not trying to be mean to them, but they're not fighters. And this is they're constantly telling us this. They're telling, because what has happened is, again, when they change those scriptures, the scriptures are a contract, people. The scriptures are a contract.
It's not just a religious book.
It is look, the scriptures come from the melanated woman. She is God. She wrote those. he took those scriptures and changed them around. He changed the contract and he wrote her out. But you know what? Again, she is not a victim because the mitochondria did it to him on a molecular level. Are you feeling me?
Feeling it's deep. And, you know, for the brothers and sisters that are listening, please make sure that you share this video, share this knowledge. We're going to be coming with more and more information as the time goes on, so that we can wake up the earth. The Empress said, hey, we don't need to wake up the whole world, maybe. It's only going to take a percentage of us to wake up, and then the whole earth will get into her order, and I do believe it.
Yeah, they won't have a choice.
Doing our part. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, at the end of the day, you know, pretty much to summarize everything that's going on, like you say, we run this on ourselves. So it's going to take us to fix it.
Yes.
By being, you know, proactive, getting ourselves in order, so on and so forth. So what are some of the things that you have in mind for bringing the women together? You know, even bringing the men together, because they need to be able to come together and, you know, heal as well.
Let me say this about our brothers. Again, the brothers, when you're looking at a male, this is a spiritual entity that did not receive the love that it deserves. All right. So what I want, let me make this clear, because some people get what we're talking about mixed up with feminist. Okay. Let me explain to y'all the difference between a feminist and the matriarch. I'm the matriarch. This sister is the matriarch here. And what you have to understand is we're not the difference. A feminist is fighting the male for equality. A feminist is fighting the male for equality. All right. We're not fighting him for anything. First of all, we know there is no fight because there is no equality. The ones with all the power is me and you and all these other women out here. We're the ones with the power. We have to learn to wield it. So there is no fight with the brother because there is no equality, and we full well know that. I don't give a damn if I don't make but 60 cents to your dollar. I know how to turn a penny into a damn bar of gold. Because I know how to manifest. You understand what I'm saying? You can make all the dollars you want. I'm going to make some gold. Because it doesn't matter. There is no fight. I am the manifester. Everything must come through me. And so when we start understanding that and stop trying to fight him, let me give you an example of how we show love. There was a story, this is a true story, about this woman, you know, during the war, where the males went off to war and there weren't any men to work in the plants. Okay. And so this woman, you know, she ended up taking a job at one of these plants, these worker plants. And, you know, she was doing well. And then the war was over. And then the men came back. And then she lost her job because they rehired the males. Well, you know what she did? She said, well, you know what? Well, y'all going to need something to eat. So I'm just going to, you know, prepare food for, you know, all of y'all to eat. Next thing you know, she's charging everybody in that whole plant to bring them lunch. She ended up opening a restaurant. That was a business she opened. She made way more than what they ever could have paid her on that job because, again, she showed love. She's like, I'm not going to show you hate because, you know, I don't have this job. How can I show you love? How can I be of a service to you? And that's what she did. She went and, again, she's like, I'm going to prepare lunch for you. They start paying her. And, again, she's a millionaire. She had to worry about going to that job. You understand? I know how to turn a penny into gold.
That's right.
I don't have to fight with you. I love my brother. And that's what we need to learn how to do. We're not about hating him or hating on him and trying to be equal to him. Ain't no equality. I'm the one with all the power. And I'm going to show you love, and that's all you can return to me.
So what are some of the things that, you know, I know we haven't spoken much because we literally just met a couple of days ago. Shouts out to Sister Sassy.
Hey, Sassy Vegan.
For the are some things that you feel that we could do to, you know, other than, of course, sharing the knowledge and stuff like that, but we are planning a road trip.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in the making. We're planning to drive down to Belize, Central America, but we're going to stop in Texas, we're going to stop in Mexico, explore the land, which really we earth. And we hope that we can link up with, you know, even brothers, you know what I'm saying, that are willing to support getting the earth back in order. And it's going to be a physical thing that we have to do. No one is going to fall out of the sky and save us. So, you know, we have to save ourselves. So, you know, other than that, what are some thoughts that you have going on? Us looking up and networking